Negotiations continue in Washington over the rules for ICE and other federal immigration officers. Should they be forced to remove their masks? What about body cameras and warrants? Here's what Senator Chuck Schumer from here in New York said today and the Republican response.
We're ready to sit down and negotiate but it's got to be strong, it's got to be tough. It's got to rein in ICE in very serious ways and end the violence.
If you unmask them and you put all their identifying information on their uniform, then they will obviously be targeted. They and their families, probably.
Meanwhile, there has also been a lot of debate over how much local and state police agencies should cooperate with ICE deportation efforts. Paul Linden-Retek is a law professor at the University at Buffalo and has been working on a report about the collaboration, and he's live here with us tonight. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate it. What are the key takeaways in this report? You just kind of wrapped it up, and I know this is so front and center for communities all across the country, including here.
Yeah, so the report was published in December of 2025. Our students covered various areas of situations where various local and state agencies might cooperate with ICE. It's ranging from police and public safety to schools to hospitals. And our conclusion is that such cooperation, ultimately, the moral and legal judgment of the report is that those are violations of human rights. We actually use the human rights lens. The United States has signed on to various international covenants, but of course these are rights that are also protected in the U.S. Constitution and the New York state law as well. The idea here is that when local and state agencies cooperate with federal immigration enforcement, it results in a variety of rights violations, from violations of due process, equal protections, rights to education, to health, to employment rights, and as well as the right to seek asylum and to be resettled as refugees. And that's obviously a very particularly important point for us in Western New York.
Are you looking mostly at civil immigration matters? Because we often hear this debate, especially among politicians, in many ways on both sides, that when you're talking about someone who is a potentially dangerous criminal, especially someone who has gone through our criminal court system and has been found guilty and perhaps served time, that those are cases in which most agree those folks should be deported out of the country. Do you make that distinction?
Well, in some ways we don't, because it's often very hard to distinguish in the field by people who are not trained in immigration law, to distinguish what exactly is a violation of federal civil immigration law and which violations are federal criminal immigration law. You can't tell just by looking at the person or even observing the activity in person necessarily whether they are in the country unlawfully as a matter of criminal violation, meaning that they were previously deported and re-entered, or they might have simply overstayed a visa, or they have a failed asylum application. So in some ways, the attempt to intervene and enforce immigration law is ambiguous in that way, especially for state and local agencies that are trying to actually aid or cooperate. And so in some ways we don't make the distinction. I think that there are important distinctions to be made with regards to what kinds of, lawfully, what kinds of activities state and local agencies can do as a matter of constitutional law. But I think the point is that any kind of attempt to enforce federal immigration law blurs that line and actually creates fear in the community and creates these violations of rights.
I'm sure there are people watching who say, we had a porous border for a number of years leading up to the current administration, and that the crackdown has sort of been in reaction to that. If there is a dangerous criminal out there who happens to be in the country illegally and local authorities or local organizations who know of it don't at least inform ICE, doesn't that put the community at risk?
So I think the exact opposite is in some ways is true, because I think that of course we have criminal law and criminal law enforcement to make sure that people who are committing crimes are investigated, prosecuted, taken off the streets. I think when you begin to blur and actually deputize local law enforcement to try to enforce federal immigration law, what happens is that people who might be in the country unlawfully but have committed no crimes, pose no danger to the community, they begin to be wary of reporting crime. They become to be reluctant in serving as witnesses. So I think detectives and people who are investigating crime view this as a real hindrance to their ability to actually keep the public safe. So I think the idea of eliminating cooperation between law enforcement and immigration officials is actually is a pro public safety, pro crime enforcement, criminal law enforcement measure, because I think it means that police can do their job and not actually undermine the integrity of law enforcement efforts.
We really appreciate you sharing your perspective on what is an important topic, and obviously folks on varying sides of it. UB law professor Paul Linden-Retek, thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate your time. Thank you.